Good morning. This is Kim De Silva from Language of Relationships. Welcome to Spanglish World Networks on Zingo TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app from the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Fire and Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. This morning, I have a very special guest, Eduardo. So, Eduardo, I could kind of call you my boss in in some respects for for this program. But I am extremely happy to have you here today. And we're talking about a topic that we've touched on before, but it's one that, especially, for those of us, um, I think for those of us in multicultural, multilingual communities, it's a very common issue, that of diversity in relationships. It comes in so many different forms. And I think hearing our stories and hearing the stories from different perspectives really help us to enjoy our own and to help others understand us even more. So, gracias, Eduardo.
No problem. My pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be talking with you and actually learning. I have learned a lot from watching your show. It's interesting dynamics, the different topics from finance to relationship building and to you know how to deal with daily life in as a couple.
Exactly. And so many different things impact it. I think that's one of the things that we've really been using this show to highlight. It's that it's not just, you know, always arguing and how to communicate better and how to, have more dates. It's not just that. There are many factors that affect us and our daily health, mental health, emotional health, physical health. So we have to address all of those factors as we look at becoming, better versions of ourselves and of course having more successful relationships. So, all right, Eduardo, I'm going to make you go back down memory lane. So perhaps you could give our viewers a little idea about, who you are, your wife, who your wife is, how you met, and then we can start getting into it.
Oh yeah, 100%. So to start with, I am. I would say They people call me a man of many skills. Uh,
Oh, yes.
I dabble in multiple worlds, from IT to business to sport, uh, to culture. This is what I love to do, and this is why this network is here, is to provide an avenue for people to understand themselves, their partners, and the world as a whole. I am originally from a little small country in Latin America called Guatemala. That was where I was born. Didn't stay there for long. It seems like my life has taken me as a good nomad all
Mm.
around all around the world. And uh, I grew up in Venezuela, Mexico, the DR, and it was interesting because it gave me a little knowledge of how to deal with different cultures. Different, yes, they are all Spanish speaking countries, but believe it or not, each country has its intricacies, their quirks that you have to learn how to deal with the people.
Exactly, exactly.
Idiosyncrasies in Latin America are completely odd from country to country to country.
I can imagine. Even within the Caribbean, which is a smaller area, and it is incredible the differences between the islands. So
Yeah, no, and So my wife of now, we used to be classmates when we were in grades 1, 2, and 3
Oh wow. This is in Venezuela.
in Venezuela. She is
Right.
originally born in Curacao.
Oh wow.
In,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
so she's Dutch uh,
Mm-hmm.
by upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
Her and, and we have to go into families because it's very
Of
very
course.
very interesting because her background is Moroccan Turkish, and uh, her parent her her dad's family emigrated to Curacao in the 1940s.
Right.
My her mother's family emigrated to Venezuela in the 1890s.
Oh wow.
So they are she is fourth generation, believe it or not, four generations of Moroccans in Venezuela. So
Right.
um, so and from my side, I am my dad's side of the family is Syrian.
Right.
My mom's side of the side my mom's side of the family is as I call them, blood drinkers from Romania in Transylvania. So we are a very diverse couple in that,
Wow.
with
Yes.
with a lot of a lot of intricacies that we have to deal with because that's how we. So when I moved to Venezuela from Guatemala, because of the political tensions there,
Mm-hmm.
I went to school and I met this little girl that was my classmate.
Mm-hmm.
And then in grade 3, I left for Mexico. She left for Curacao.
Right.
We never spoke again.
Oh, wow. Uh-huh.
So and I then went to Mexico. From Mexico, I went to the Dominican Republic, and I
Right.
went through many experiences. I went back to Guatemala again after a long time, and I had girlfriends and this and that in those periods. But
Yeah.
you know, then I emigrated to Canada, and where I reside now.
Yeah.
And the funny part was that, and I was a teenager here, and I grew
Right.
up in my teenage years and my early, how can I say, my early youth in Canada.
Yeah.
But I still had that Latin upbringing, that
Right. Yeah.
the value system that you like someone very simple, very down to earth. And
Right.
I found the North American dating scene was more about what you have, what you can give. Uh,
Right.
you know, and to me, that the 20 questions every time that you try to ask a girl in a bar to dance was like, "Hey, I am not asking you to marry me. I am asking you to dance."
Yep, 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 yep.
And
Yeah, yeah.
so it was funny because I had a friend, one of my closest friends from the US, that we went to university together, and we
Mhm.
started saying, having the same issues. He didn't like the California scene for women.
Oh,
I wasn't having the problem. I was having the same problem in Canada, in
yeah.
Toronto. So we said, why don't we create an app
Mhm.
for a social platform for Jewish singles?
Right.
And he said, so I told him, I'll do the marketing, I'll do everything like that, and you are the computer brains,
Right.
and you do the platform
I have
itself.
a question though. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to put it in like a timeline perspective. So this would have been in the days like when people like eHarmony and Match.com were advertising
So
heavily on cable TV or
so yeah. So here is the interesting thing. We made this application
Mhm.
when the only messaging systems were
Right.
ICQ and the early stages of AOL.
Right. Oh gosh. I do remember those days though.
So there was nothing really as a platform where people could communicate.
No, it was
In those
literally
days,
websites. So
there
those things.
wasn't, and in those days there wasn't video.
No, no.
So it was all voice or all text.
Yep, yep, yep. Until they brought in the I think they brought in MSN Messenger. You
Yeah,
started to be able to talk on that. And then
yeah,
it was free and then it started to
yeah,
make you pay and oh
yeah.
my god.
So we started our platform. It was called JDate,
Right.
and we are still around, believe it or not.
Really?
We
Wow.
are still around from my days. Is mostly my friend. My friend is still running it.
Mm-hmm.
He remained single, and he's still running the site. I am in the background, still doing certain things, but no, that's uh, I got what I wanted out of it.
I was gonna say, yeah. So you were the marketing end, so you were out there.
Yeah, no, and we did a lot of stuff that was not normal for the era.
Yeah.
So we started marketing JDate, and at the beginning it was just the US and Canada,
Right. Yeah.
and all of a sudden we started getting those people that were from the US and Canada started bringing in their friends from all over the world.
All right.
And I said, I have the back end. I have access to the back end. Let me see who is here from Venezuela, or and
So you didn't want it just to be for Jewish singles. Now you're like, I want to find some girls more from my background too.
yeah, I mean, because it was the trying to get to meet people that I could really relate to, that I
Exactly.
know, like I said, that simplicity, that
Yeah.
down to earth type of atmosphere.
Yeah. And
And
was the language important to you at this point as well? Oh no.
sorry,
Was the language important to you?
the language wasn't as important as it was
The values.
the values,
Yeah.
because I was 23, 24 years old,
Yeah.
uh, and I wanted to start expanding.
Yeah.
So for a while, I didn't find it. There was nobody from Latin America in the site,
Yeah.
and there were a lot of Mayameros, you know, uh, but it wasn't. It was still, the Cuban Jews. It was still that
Mhm.
already have assimilated into
Yeah.
American culture.
Yeah.
So I started exploring in Israel. We had people from Israel. We had people in Europe. We had people, but I started exploring those avenues because Latin America wasn't yet. And we started doing cruises
Oh.
and packages to go to, so that the people in the site could meet actually in real life.
Oh wow.
And it was really, really interesting because you start seeing more movement.
Yeah.
Uh, One of the trips coincidentally touched on your neck of the woods in Trinidad, and so we did a cruise that went from Miami
Right.
into Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. We went to Trinidad, Antigua.
Full length.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was a 12-day trip, and it was awesome. It was just us on the ship. We
Right.
we had over 2,000 people that went on that cruise, on that
So
trip.
from the site on onto that cruise, 2,000 people. Wow.
Yeah, and now, well, let me continue with the story. But
Yeah.
so I start getting into my 30s, and I said, let me look again in Latin America, what's available. And I got touch Venezuela, and there were only two girls in Venezuela,
Mhm.
which surprised me. And one was in the Jewish tradition, in the Jewish ethnicity. There is
Right.
two people: the people that come from Hispanic backgrounds, and the
Right.
people that come from Eastern European.
Right.
And I said, I started looking at. I don't discriminate, but Eastern European, I had my mom style, and I said, I have enough with that. you know, sometimes sons look at their mother and they say, I want something like that.
He
I
said,
said, no, I don't want something like that.
he said, you have a very, very valid reason there, right?
So I I looked at the other girl, and all of a sudden I start seeing the name,
Mhm.
and I said, no, it can't be her. Happened to so I I I messaged her and I said, look, my name is Eduardo Harari. I live currently in Toronto. I used to live in Venezuela, and there was a girl that I knew with your same name that got on the bus two stops before me, and we were in the same class
Mhm.
in Hebrew. And she goes, hold on, you are the kid from Guatemala?
Ah,
And she remembered me.
yes.
So I said, so we started talking and this and that, and the funny part was that the platform had become so massive
Mm.
that there was much privacy anymore in the platform.
Okay.
We could go to a private chat room,
Yeah.
but people, when you went to a private chat room, they decided they thought that you were trying to avoid people knowing that you were going out. So I took her from this my platform to back to ICQ, and we started talking in ICQ. And she had just started with computers and this and that, So
Mhm.
it was interesting, and we started talking. And the funny thing is that we started talking about everything,
Yeah.
about kids, how we would raise them, how our value systems and everything. And I finally decided that it was time
Right.
to meet. And I decided that it was about time to meet. And she was graduating from university at the time. So I told her, where are you going? Where are you going for your graduation present from your parents?
Mhm.
And she goes, well, we are going, actually, all the family is going. My mom, my dad, and my aunt we are all going to Israel, Greece, and Europe. So I said, look,
Right.
I happen to have to be in Israel for my reserves training in Israel in the army.
Right.
Why don't we meet when you get to Israel? And she goes, oh, okay, no problem. And we talked, and happened to be that she gets to Israel, and her grandfather in Curacao passes away.
Oh no.
So she had to go. All the family had to go quickly back to Curacao to do the arrangements and to do everything.
Mhm.
And I lost contact with her again because the internet in those days, the internet in Curacao was very expensive and very
Mhm.
difficult. So happened to be that the other girl that was on the site on the platform, on my platform, was her best friend. So
Oh,
it was so I contacted her to get in touch with Rebecca, and she goes, "I am going to be in Curacao tomorrow." So I said, "Can I call you directly to your cell phone?"
speak to
And she
her.
goes, "Yeah, sure." And we started talking with Rebecca again. And when they went back to Venezuela, I said, "Look, I'm coming to see my cousins. I need to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
We have a very unique relationship,
Yeah.
and you know, uh, and we have passed. We were classmates. So
Yeah.
it would be nice to meet you again." But I was very sneaky, very very sneaky. And I had her friend go with her to my uncle's jewelry store and measure her
Mm.
finger.
Ah.
And they gave me the measurements. I bought a ring, and I brought the ring with me to Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that she was my match. We hadn't seen each other, pictures of each other or anything. We hadn't shared those yet.
Oh, wow.
So
You have an image of a third grade
Meryl,
girl.
and she was very different from. But
Yeah,
it was. But you know what? I think that the conversations and everything that transpired,
correct.
it was what made it very special,
Yeah, exactly.
because we spoke about everything before marriage.
Yeah,
So I get to Venezuela, and it was a big. She didn't want to go alone to the airport to pick me up
right.
because she was scared.
Of course. I mean,
So she brought all her friends, all her group, and I get out of customs, and the first thing I see is signs that say, "Welcome to Venezuela, Eduardo." But I am seeing everybody except for her.
right.
So I go to her friend. I said, "Where is Rebecca?" She goes, "If you go outside the doors, walk to the about 4 or 5 pillars. She's standing behind that pillar." So I went to look for her, and we met, and she drove me to my cousin's place to drop my luggage, and then I went to her house because her mother had cooked dinner for us,
Mm-hmm.
and her dad wasn't there because it was the year of the death of his father,
Right.
so he was in Curacao,
Right.
and they Rebecca and her mother were going to meet him for the celebrations,
Right.
uh, and so my idea was to ask for her hand in marriage when I go to Venezuela from her dad, because
Oh,
I am
mm,
very custom. I,
yeah.
I love custom, the tradition. I mean, I can ask the girl, but I need to get the if you don't get the clearance from the upper ups,
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I said, her father is not here. I'm going to ask her mother,
Right.
and my now mother-in-law goes, "I don't deal with that kind of crap. You have to go to see her dad in Curacao." So I said, "I have to go to Curacao. I have to go to Curacao. I have no
Well, yeah,
problem."
you do. It's
And
not too far from Venezuela.
no, it's a 30-minute flight, but
Yeah.
you know, it's it, so I accompanied them to for the remembrance ceremony for her grandfather,
Hmm.
and that's when I made probably the most crucial mistake in my life. That if her father didn't take it as a joke, I will be probably been dead by now.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't have. I never met her parents when we were kids.
Right.
I mean, we were in school together, but we never had interaction between the families.
Exactly. Yeah.
So uh, I am assuming I'm looking for the typical father, Jewish father, looking for a similar, looking at what my father looks like, and trying to assimilate.
Mhm.
And I am the first shock was when I hand over my I am going through customs, and the custom officer goes, reason for your coming to Curacao. I said, I'm coming to ask for my girlfriend's hand in marriage. And the officer goes, here in Curacao we all know each other. Who what's the name of the family of your wife? So I said Sarfati. She goes, Roberto's daughter? And I said, I and I said, the guy goes to me, are you sure you want to get into that family? Are you sure? And I said, yeah, 100%. That's what I'm here. So so I go through customs, go to pick my luggage, and someone comes up to me and goes, can I help you?
Mhm.
And I said, you know, airports in Latin America, we have people that work there, and they help you with the luggages and everything. Huge guy, black guy, very, very dark skin. And I said, sure. We are walking out. I see Rebecca and her mother at a distance. I walk towards them, and I said, I go to the person. It's fine. It's fine now. And I'm about to pull about a $5 bill. And Rebecca goes, I see you met my father. And I said, oh my God, I almost got killed here. So
Oh my gosh.
so we get to the house and everything, and I meet Rebecca's grandmother. I meet all her great aunt as well, and everything is going well. So we go to bed. The following morning, I didn't know what he did, what he was involved in. So he goes to me. Knocks in my door at 4:30 in the morning
Oh.
and goes, "We are going to the port." And I said, "It's 4:30 in the morning for you. It's 2:30 for me because I'm from Toronto." He goes, "The best fish boats coming at this time."
Do though, yeah.
So I said, "Okay." So I get up, get dressed. We go to the dock. We buy the fish, and he goes to me. I hear from my wife that you are here to ask for my daughter's hand in marriage. I
Mhm.
said, yeah. I wanted to ask you myself, but if your wife already told you, that's what I'm here. So he asked me, what do I do? And we start talking. He goes, and all of a sudden he starts talking with me, and
Mhm.
he starts talking with me, and we start talking about family.
Mhm.
And he goes to me, I am very good friends with your family.
Oh, okay.
And I said, Okay, which side? Because I have two sides in Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
Else with both. It happened to be that my mother-in-law, my father-in-law met through met through my family because they took my mother-in-law to Curacao on a trip. My great uncle took my mother-in-law with them when they were kids, around
Mm.
17, 18, to Curacao on a family trip, and that's where she met my father-in-law.
Wow.
So and from the other side of my dad's side, they
Yeah.
were classmates and with all my cousins.
Oh, wow.
So it was great. Like, I mean, now I have something in common.
Full circle.
Full
Yep.
circle comes around, and we finish our coffee and and eating the little snack that we ate, and we get to the house, and he yells at Rebecca, "Rebecca, get up!" And I said, "Let her sleep. It's 7:30." No, 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 no. This can wait. And Rebecca comes here, and Rebecca comes to the outside of the house into the porch, and my father-in-law goes, "You are going to Canada? You are going to go to see what Eduardo does in Canada because you are getting married."
And by this time, have you even been able to ask Rebecca?
No. So she didn't have a clue. So the funny part was that, you know, uh, Rebecca reacted surprised. Who and told her that, "Who the hell are you to tell me that I'm with a total stranger that I just met after 21 years that we haven't seen each other, and I'm getting married? You don't have to worry. I already spoke to your uncle in Toronto. In case it doesn't work out, you can go to stay with them until you come back home." And Rebecca was even more getting angrier. He goes, "Shouldn't I get a vote in this?" And that goes, "You are not going to find somebody else that comes all the way from Canada to ask you for marriage." So so the trip goes well. She came back with me to Toronto right after we went back to Venezuela.
Yeah.
So she comes back to Toronto with me, and she meets my family here. I meet her family as well. Uh, and we said, okay, it's going to be a, a long engagement
Mm-hmm.
to give us ourselves times really to get to know each other,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then we'll get married. We said a year and a half to 2 years of being boyfriend engaged,
Yeah.
and she goes back to Venezuela. I stay in Canada. About a week later, so at that time, Rebecca used to work for the Jewish community, for the office of the rabbi in the Jewish community in Venezuela,
Right.
and she was in charge actually of booking the wedding dates.
Right.
That was her function with the rabbi. So she calls me about a week later, just prior to the Jewish holidays, and she goes to me, "You have to be here in December because we are getting married." And I said, "Wasn't it you that said it was going to be a long engagement?" And she goes, "There is no dates for the next 2 years. That's the only weekend."
Oh my.
I said, "In a 2-year period, there is no other date available anywhere in the country." She goes, "No." So I said, "Okay." Now I have to break the news to my parents who weren't living here, they were living in Guatemala,
Oh my gosh.
that I am getting married
Right.
in December. They
What
still
month?
haven't met Rebecca. This was September,
Right.
and I said, how do I tell my parents I met somebody online, which they understand what online is. I went to Venezuela, met her, and went to Curacao, met her family, and now I'm getting married in Venezuela in December.
2 months.
And I go, oh, this is not going to be a pretty picture. So the and as I expected, my parents didn't react the proper way. My parents weren't. They thought, here goes Eduardo again, putting his foot in his mouth, and not being responsible. Or
Mhm.
at 34, he's still a little kid
Doing crazy things.
doing crazy things. And they come to Venezuela, but they came to Venezuela with the purpose of stopping the wedding. So they have a conversation with my in-laws about stopping the wedding. My in-laws tell my parents, if you don't want to be here, don't worry about it.
Hmm.
We trust him with our daughter.
Hmm.
You can go away, and we'll have the wedding on our own.
Hmm.
And we had the civil wedding in December,
Hmm.
and then the religious one in July.
Right.
And it was phenomenal. Like, I mean, it was just unreal. And it was like the worlds collided in Venezuela in July.
Hmm.
I mean, it was funny because for a civil wedding in December that we expected to do in December,
Yeah.
uh, I don't know if you remember. I mean, you remember because you were in Trinidad probably at that time,
Hmm.
in 2000, in the 1990s. There
Hmm.
was a huge hurricane that came through and that took out all the coast of Venezuela.
Hmm.
So we were getting married on the 27th of December, and this big hurricane went through on the 21st.
Oh wow.
So the airport was closed. The main airport in Venezuela was closed. The only way to get from the other airport, which was in Valencia, which is in north of Venezuela,
Yeah.
was to drive back through by bus into the city.
Oh.
So we had guests that were coming in, flying in from out,
Yeah.
flying in, including my parents, that had to bear with a 3.5 hour bus ride.
1.5 hour. Wow.
My parents got to Venezuela. They didn't want anything to do with weddings,
Oh my gosh.
and we went through the civil wedding.
Hmm.
For our religious ceremony, we had
Hmm.
almost 3,400 people
Hmm. Oh wow.
that flew in from all over the world.
Wow.
You know, it was, thank God it was in Venezuela because it's cheaper.
But yeah, there is that. Oh.
We actually made a profit out of the wedding, which I enjoyed. You know, because we told everybody we are moving back to Canada anyway. So,
Right. It's
not,
mostly monetary gifts.
yeah, but they still gave us gifts that it, I that it we had to pay to bring to Canada after the wedding.
Right.
But it was that, you know the diversity in the wedding. It was just so unreal. because I had people that from my side, particularly, uh, in, we were 850 people just from my family,
Yeah.
cousins, uncles, and everything, and friends. And,
Yeah.
and by this time, I was already established in business. I had gone through a baseball career. I had gone through everything in life,
Yeah.
and I had created a lot of connections that I had in
Yeah.
life.
So
Uh,
where did you host a wedding for over 3,000 people?
in the Jewish Community Center in Venezuela, in
Is
the
that
soccer
really?
in the soccer field.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was great. It was fun. It was really fun.
Oh my gosh. Wow. And how many years now is it?
It's now 20. Let's see, 1990, 2000. It's been 24 years.
24 years, yeah. Quarter century next year.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
and
Yeah.
and I don't think anybody in the world gave us more than two,
For it to last. Wow.
because they said they are two so different that it's not going to last. And my mother, that wasn't happy with my choice, is
Mm-hmm.
now the best friend of my daughter, of my wife.
Mm-hmm.
They speak with my mother-in-law probably every other day, and we have two kids that are the everything for us in our lives,
Yeah.
and that was another ordeal
Yeah.
because she couldn't have kids, and we had to go through artificial insemination, which didn't work. We went through three of them. It didn't work, and then a baseball game in Toronto, and she got pregnant.
Oh wow.
And the doctor said, "You are lucky that you had the one. You won't have another." And she was in her 7th month of pregnancy when we discovered that she was married with the second one.
Oh wow. Wow.
So yeah,
Not much time to prepare.
no, and I was in Venezuela doing a project. So she
Oh
was in
my.
Toronto. She was in Toronto with my mother-in-law,
Yeah.
and I was in Venezuela working. And I get a call, not from her. I got a message in my voicemail because they couldn't reach her by phone from the doctor,
Oh.
and it said, Miss Harari, yes, you are, and you are 7 months. And I said, what exactly is the message? I heard it about 4 or 5 times, and I went into panic. And uh, I called my wife that night, and she goes. I said, I just received a message from the doctor saying, yes, you are, and you are 7 months. What does that mean? Oh, you weren't supposed to get that message. And I said, again, what does that mean? And she goes, I am pregnant. I said, you understand that we live in a one and a half bedroom apartment. What do you expect me to do? Come home? So I had a month and a half in which to sell my apartment,
Mhm.
find a new home, and move into it. To all my perceptions, I wasn't able to. I sold my apartment. I couldn't find and I found a new place, but we couldn't move in. So we had my 1-year-old 1 and 1 month old,
Mm-hmm.
sleeping in the closet, in the
Mm-hmm.
bassinet, and I had the newborn sleeping in the bedroom with my wife and my mother-in-law,
Right. Right.
and I was sleeping in the living room in the couch
Oh wow.
until we were able to move into a new house.
Oof.
And the best part was that we had family that came for the christening of the baby that were sleeping in my apartment also. so so we had a lot of fun. Really, really, we
Things you can laugh at now.
actually I laughed back then. I said I don't know how I fit everybody into that one bedroom, one and a half
Oh,
bedroom place.
oh wow. No.
No, that's why I told you that the topic was going to be good, because it shows
Mm-hmm.
you the diversity in marriage. And I always tell people, I have friends that have kids, and
Mm-hmm.
they go to me, Eduardo, what should we be looking for? I said, don't look for anything. Whatever is yours will come at its right time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
now these kids are married, and they come to me and they said, you were right. It doesn't pay to go to look for one. It
No.
just they just drop out of the sky. And I said, not quite, but
This take a little bit of work, but yeah.
but
Some effort.
it's in relationships you have to be on get to know the people. I think that uh, s- and yes, it's not conventional to have a relationship over the internet.
Yeah.
Uh, Sometimes people do fake their regular lives,
Mm-hmm.
but if you have a good judge of character and you
Yeah.
understand, everything works out. I mean, and diversity in marriage is great
Mm-hmm.
because you really learn to understand yourself
Mm-hmm.
and your partner.
Exactly. And one of the things that what stuck with me is whether we're talking about the diversity in marriage and how your backgrounds are so different. One of the key things that you did have in common was your value system. And that also influenced then the types of shared goals that you would have. And I think that is something that so many people, especially nowadays, don't realize actually is important. That sense of that having a similar value system and having a similar idea of where you want to go together. You add that now, as you said, to the areas where you are different, and now you have this great foundation, and now you have all this curiosity and excitement and interest in each other and understanding that builds out of that. And it's, at least for me, I find what helps is that even when you don't understand the other person, because that happens very often too, um, you can always fall back on the knowledge that yes, but this is a good person that I am married to. I can give them the benefit of the doubt even if I don't understand what they're thinking right now. But I
Oh,
know
definitely.
communication.
Like, I mean, tell you the truth, I think that what we went with Rebecca through in the early stage of our friendship, or because I keep telling everybody that the success of my marriage is
Mhm.
based on that we were engaged before we were friends, and that we actually learned about each other during the marriage.
Right.
The idea that we didn't date it before, it
Yeah.
helped. because it gave us that foundation of knowing who we are as individuals,
Right.
and then we put it together in the marriage.
Right.
I have to say that I'm the luckiest guy in the world, because I think that no one, as my friends kindly put it, I don't know how she has survived living with you with all your craziness. And they're right. I mean, going from the IT business to telecommunication to now TV. I ran for political office twice.
Oh
Uh,
my.
so she had to absorb a lot of unwanted tensions that marriage doesn't need, in top of what it's already a marriage. You know,
Yeah.
so it's that, and we have moved technically countries, and also during their marriage. So went through losses in both sides. My mom and my dad and her dad both are now gone. My father-in-law, in the early part of our marriage, we were less than 2 years married, and we were apart. We were apart for almost 3 years during the marriage.
Right.
uh, you know I had friends that never met Rebecca, and that were saying, no, no, you are married to a phantom. There is no there is no wife. And when she finally arrived in Canada back, they said, holy moly, yeah, you were right, there was somebody. you know and they couldn't understand how a marriage lasted through. And if you can last through loss and not being together, you can last through anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
We went with my son. My son is autistic, and we have gone through that ordeal, and that has made us stronger, because we work with each other to see how we can get him ahead. And you
Yeah.
know it's that type of one of the things in marriage that people tend to forget is that communication is everything. If you don't have communication, there is no marriage. You cannot live of the good things. You have to learn to communicate, so that the bad things don't happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when they happen, you have to again communicate to see how to get out of it.
Together. Exactly. Exactly. How to work together to get through it.
You know,
Absolutely.
and in a in a in a in a diverse marriage is even harder, because you have culture culture things to get through. Um, from one side, it might be one set of rules. From the other side, maybe another set of rules. And but you have to understand uh, how how to communicate very well. And that's the best advice I can give anybody. Is always keep the lines of communication open,
Mm-hmm.
and do whatever you have to do to keep your partner happy. This, you know, I told you that, after 24, almost it was almost what 11 years, we decided to go to a couples retreat,
Mm-hmm.
because with my schedule and her schedule, we hardly meet.
Right.
So we went to couples therapy, and we went to here. And the funny thing is that we thought our problems were big, and when we got to couples therapy, we said, holy smokes. After listening to the other ones, we said, oh, we are doing just fine.
Bye.
We are just doing fine.
I guess that is one of the benefits of doing them in a group setting. You realize maybe things aren't that bad after all.
No, and you learn to laugh about your issues,
Correct.
because you know it's those things that you thought they were big, they just become very, very little,
Yeah.
and you say, why didn't we talk about this? Why didn't
Yeah,
we do that, this or do that?
exactly.
It's very lucky.
Correct. Well, I think that's a good reminder for us to close up on, keeping those lines of communication open.
For sure.
All helps prevent big issues and it helps you work through the big issues as well.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Thank you very much, Eduardo, for being here with me today and sharing your extremely interesting story with us. It was like watching a movie, hearing you go through. It definitely is one of those stories that needs to be told. All right. So, thank you everyone for being with us. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the latest news and happenings. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. For now.